Farts. Look at that. Branded it out already. Good start. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Friday. And this is like the first, but kind of unofficial first episode of Capes and Cowls for the big thing. So we're pretty excited about it. Myself, Coy and Winston. This is one of the last StreamYard shows that we're going to do. Digital shows or, everybody at home types of shows. We're going to start getting back in studio. We got some cool announcements coming up soon. So I'm excited to be able to talk about that. But this is like the first unofficial show. So today, what we're going to be talking about, Fantastic Four. It came out that they're not doing an origin story once they come out and they have their Phase 6 movie. What's going on with this Kraven the Hunter movie? It comes out in January, and people are just kind of sleeping on it. It's because it comes out in January. What's going to happen? Aaron Taylor Johnson was talking about a possible face-off with Spider-Man. I feel like every Sony movie that they're going to do is a possible face-off. So Prey there's a lot of comic book stuff with Predator. So there's stuff that Amber Mid-Thunder talked about and a lot of other things. There's a Godzilla vs. Kong sequel. Deadpool 2 star Zazie Beetz plays Coy when asked about possible Deadpool 3 as Domino. So I think, it's funny. That's something I'm going to bring up with Winston. Winston was trying to guess the February movie that was the untitled, and none of us said Deadpool. How did we not say Deadpool as that untitled February movie? Every movie that Deadpool has had so far has been in February, and they haven't announced it at all. I can guarantee you that movie's coming out in either 2023 or 2024, 2025. So that and other things, but make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you're gonna start being able to catch Capes and Cowls every Friday, and unless we're doing rewatch. So make sure you do that. And if you haven't already, Apple Podcast, Spotify, that's what this will be on every Friday. So let's get into it. It's Capes and Cowls. It's the big thing. Let's do it.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here.
That's not what I wanted to do.
Get out of here, man. Shit. Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. Shit.
That's amazing. Welcome back to Capes and Cowls. I love that guy showed up. Apropos. What do you think, Winston?
I mean, it's sick. I remember you sending this over. I love that he designed you after Homelander, though, of all things.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something I need to be worried about?
That was a request, man. That was a request. And look, perfect.
Look at Roxy, Kristian, and Brett doing the work today.
Really?
Doing the work.
This is why this is the unofficial first ever. This is why.
Yeah, we're beta testing.
StreamYard is tough. By the way, so EPK Music is provided that theme song. Got the great DieselTyme who did the logo, and then we're also Wicked Art who did a lot of the Sith stuff. He did this for us as well.
Yeah, these are dope.
That's
great.
Sick.
So Coy gets to be Spider-Man and Deadpool, and Winston gets to be Batman each time, and I get to be Homelander each time, and I'm cool with it. I'm here for it.
Wear our t-shirts, just like Schmoedown.
Right?
I'm coming for the t-shirts.
I know, because it's funny because I got the message via IG, but like way after it was done. Because like you don't if it's people you don't know, it like puts it in a separate little folder or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I was like, damn. I mean, it would have been either Batman, Static Shock, or
I figured you wanted
or Black Panther. Yeah.
I know you guys well enough that I requested. I mean, if you look at this one, this is like Batman meets Black Panther.
Yeah, exactly. The way he's holding, especially the way he's holding the batarangs or the Winston rangs.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Coy's always going to get either Deadpool or Spider-Man, and then because I forget who he asked for me, and I was like, nah, I want Homelander.
Jesus Christ!
No, Winston, we should be worried.
Did you learn nothing from season 3?
Look at this, and same thing, and it's like so. That's why. So all three of them, it's like I got for Sith, I'm the freaking Emperor, and for this, it's Homelander.
Jesus.
I worry what Kristian thinks of himself. Maybe we should stay Zoom shows. I'm not sure about the safety of in studio anymore.
No, you're smart. You're smart. Well, look, you did host Hall H, so what do I know about it?
I mean, here I am. I posted a picture of John Bernthal today, and I was waiting for the guff. I was waiting for it.
I didn't see it.
I'll get the text later. I'll get that.
Good for you. No, it's awesome. That's awesome. You're kicking ass. We break chops because we love, but we're always going to break chops.
He's got this really cool podcast about like modern masculinity, and it's like really hard to talk about that in the 2022 space because of Homelander and like those type of things. So it was really cool to talk to him about something beyond comics, like, which I think was nice for him to not be like, oh, this guy. So we talked about like masculinity and podcast culture and like the world today. So he's a great dude, man. Like what a impossibly charming man.
Yeah, it's funny. My buddies went to college with him for like their first year. Where the hell did they go? Shoot, I can't remember the name of it, but if you said it, I was like, oh yep, they all went there together. Anyway, well, good. I'm glad you got a chance to talk to him. But we have some stuff to talk about today because it's the way that our show is going to work from different comic book movie shows that we've done in the past. It's very similar to Sith Council. And what I mean by that is there's going to be topics that we want to talk about, but we're going to go where we go and we're going to talk about what we want to talk about. And that's kind of the beauty of this channel in general, right? So that's honestly, we could have episodes where we just talk about one topic for 45 minutes to an hour. There might be other shows where we talk about 17 topics in a course of like 2 or 3 minutes each. But there was some stuff that came out this past week. And one of the things I think the start here, we'll start with Coy, with the Fantastic Four. There was Kevin Feige confirmed recently that Fantastic Four is not going to do an origin story, and they're going to take a look at, just right into the story itself, and just we recognize, we know who the Fantastic Four is. Go, and to me, that is identical to what they did with Spider-Man. Obviously, when I think Spider-Man in Civil War had been Spider-Man for like 4 months or something like that.
Yeah.
I think this is the absolute right way to go. I don't think anybody really needs another movie where they go into space and then they get their powers and they come back. I think just throw them into the MCU, and I think that's the way to go. But do you feel otherwise, Coy?
I totally think that's the move, and I also think that implies they're already in our universe. I think we're going to meet them before their movie. So not only is this telling us a bit about their movie in 2024, it's telling us a bit about what we're doing in phase 4 into 5 leading up to their movie. So I think we're going to meet them. I've been hearing rumors that Thing is in She-Hulk. So I think it'll be really interesting if we get them as soon as this month.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's now. So I don't think it's a coincidence. There's more talk about Fantastic Four up to D23. And then if we meet them leading up to D23, it might be a good way to show the entire cast on stage. I would expect D23 to be very X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four heavy. I would expect confirmation on cast of Fantastic Four. I would think we get Deadpool teases, but I think there's a high likelihood we meet 3 or maybe all 4 of them leading up to their movie, and I think we get Doom and Black Panther. So I think we're going to get a lot of established beforehand.
That's an interesting thing that you said about She-Hulk and Winston. The reason why when Coy says that, I'm like, and again, Coy, sometimes you're dead on, and then sometimes you're like, oh, that person might show up. That's my theory, and like everything else I do with Star Wars, it just doesn't happen, right? So I think that this particular one is possible for She-Hulk, because it comes out in August, and why then did they announce it at Comicon? Because they wanted to get ahead of it, like, hey, we got Fantastic Four coming out, and then, Fantastic Four's coming out. How about this?
2 years of build, start the character planting, and then you can use D23 for your properties.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and it would be the second, like you said, we got Mr. Fantastic, or a version of him in Multiverse. So you're one by one, like you just mentioned, Coy, introducing the team. So I wouldn't be surprised by that. And if I had to guess, just because one of the main, Kang has messed with everybody, but one of the main people that Kang is constantly dealing with is the Fantastic Four. I would even venture a guess that we're getting potentially the entire Fantastic Four in Quantumania.
I think they're trapped in the quantum realm, man. I think they're in that little city I was talking about. Like, I think that we're going to see that little city, much like Superman's little bottle city, and I think the Fantastic Four are in there.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. That would be really interesting, and that would explain why they didn't show up to deal with Thanos, why they didn't get snapped out of existence and all that kind of stuff. That Reed found this on his own. Because if I even remember, though, it feels like it was more of an Easter egg, but during Winter Soldier, when it's looking at all the threats, there is you see Stephen Strange as a threat. You see that, Reed Richards is a threat, all that kind of stuff. It really felt more of like a tip to the hat, but I would just assume that there's no way folks don't necessarily know who they are. They're just not relevant because maybe they've been trapped in the quantum realm for a while. Or
and the origins like are much like Spider-Man's, very well known and very lean. Like Spider-Man got bit by a spider. These guys get hit with cosmic rays.
Right.
We know that story, and we've seen 2 movies attempt the origin and fail in its own way. So I think it's kind of smart to be like, hey, we're already established. And it feels more like the Marvel movie formula, where there's momentum. Things are rolling. We did Shang-Chi with an origin story, but it didn't feel like it was separate. It felt intentionally in another world and then had things tie it together. I think that's the best way to do an origin this deep in the game. So the other way to do it is to put them throughout other properties, and I think that's what we're going to get.
And the other part of it too, Coy, like you said, you had to do that with Shang-Chi because a vast majority of people had no idea who that was. Whereas the Fantastic Four, not only already knowing from the movies we got, they are some of the most famous superheroes ever. They're called the first family of Marvel for a reason. So like you don't need to retread through that again, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned Shang-Chi. Star Shang-Chi, I was also talking about how involved he's going to be over the next couple of years, and people started speculating even more. So where does that mean he's going to show up? Where does that mean he's going to will he be showing up in Ant-Man? Will he be showing up in all these movies that are coming out, or will he start showing up in TV shows? And I think we mentioned on the show last week that we're all pretty convinced, especially with knowing who's directing the first Avengers, that he's going to be one of the Avengers. Is that what do you think about that, Winston? Pretty accurate?
Oh, spot on. I think very much so. It'll be curious to see if Yelena ends up an Avenger or not, or if like obviously she ends up as a member of the Thunderbolts or what it is. So you're going to need somebody that's kind of doing like the martial fighting, and I think that Shang-Chi very easily fits into that gap and has already shown, since he's got the 10 rings now, that like he's actually got a decent amount of power. He's not just beating people up; he can really mix it up with some big bad. So I would put money on that for sure.
Coy, what do you think?
I think Simu is like one of the most charming people we've met in the MCU. So I think I as much as I want to see anyone in the Avengers, I want to see Simu interacting with other characters. Like that movie was great because it was able to walk that line. But how exciting is it now to have that character established enough to then incorporate into things? He's also like such an avid martial artist that I'm really excited to see that element brought to the MCU. Saw Bullet Train last night, and one of the things I really liked was how much since David Leitch is a stunt coordinator and now director, he's always been invested in the actual fights and the actual sequences. So love Bullet Train or hate it, there's so much going on that you would only get with that man at the helm. And Simu being there last night, like, it was cool to talk to him about his reverence for stunts and his ability to be in this giant, world of blockbuster, but how much he's invested in the detail. Like martial arts is so much about the little moments. So seeing him around that stunt community and like being invested in that makes me more excited for the MCU than anything, because I like the tangible side more than the abstract.
I can understand if you don't like it, didn't like Bullet Train, okay, but if you hate Bullet Train, you hate fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
It's just
I'm so excited for this movie,
it's
dude.
It's just fun, dude. It's just look. It is a movie that definitely goes and grabs the late 90s, early 2000s, Smoking Aces, Tarantino wannabe type, Guy Ritchie movies. Sometimes the music's too loud. Sometimes the jokes don't hit. But it's fun, and it's a little too long. But other than that, I had a blast with it, man. I had a blast with it. But anyway, speaking
I was impressed that it felt like Guy Ritchie had a baby with Looney Tunes, and I wasn't bothered by either. Because like those two things should only work one way, and it's this way. Did
you just say that this is a Guy Ritchie Space Jam?
Oh, I did. Oh. And it's got the Space Jam cast of your dreams.
Nice. It is a good cast for sure. But speaking of another movie that I think will be out, I think it's today. If I do my calculations correct, is Prey. And so there was an interview with Amber Midthunder, who is she's the lead of this movie, and she talked about her role as Naru in the Predator reboot, and this is from comicbookmovie.com, and she explained how she was prepared for the role, and it was like seeing the Predator on set and possible sequel plans. Now, there's no spoilers here. So Prey tells the story of a young woman, Naru, a fierce and highly skilled warrior who has been raised in the shadow of some of the most legendary hunters who roam the Great Plains. So danger threatens her camp. She sets out to protect her people. The prey she stalks and ultimately confronts turns out to be a highly evolved alien predator. Okay. So she has a full interview with them that you can go and check out, but she just talks about what it was like. And I think, Coy, you're going to see that.
As tonight.
The taping goes, you've seen it tonight. Winston, you haven't seen it yet. All right. So this movie, what I've said, my review at this point will be up on the channel. So you'll have seen it. Hopefully you've seen it. I think that I have to go back and watch Predator 2. So when I saw this the first time and initially had my reaction, I said, I think it's the second best Predator movie. It doesn't touch the first one. I love Perry Nemiroff. Love her. But she said and this is her opinion. In her opinion, this is her favorite Predator movie. That's going to be hard for me ever to accept. Predator 1987 is one of my favorite.
Did you get one of those, like, because if you didn't get one of these, then I feel like it can't, because that is iconic.
Not in this. This is, remember, this is a prequel, because, like, oh my god.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. If you don't get a moment like that, how?
Well, it's right. It's a very different. But what I liked about it, and again, we went back, stepped back a little bit, and said, I think this is the best Predator movie since Predator 2 is now what I say, because Predator 2 is very enjoyable.
Danny Glover, man. I love Predator
2. As do I. And Gary Busey's in it again. So come on. I would take a predator and chase him down the woods, and then together we will realize that trees equal sanity of life. What? Yes. Okay, thank you, Gary. So anyway, because after that, just a bunch of movies came out that were just, it's like The Crow. Just throw out a whole, and then Terminator, and throw out all these movies. What I liked, what this movie did, and the reason that I was so high on it, is the fact that it is a smaller budget movie with a really good star, but it's a low budget cast because they're not major stars, so they probably didn't cost that much. But it's a star turn for her, and is director of 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's violent. It's got more of that horror feel to it. There's a couple of times that I'm like, that's a little really unrealistic. I mean, and then someone can go, well, an alien coming out and hunting people is unrealistic too. It's like, yeah, I get it, but what they've set up inside of the world, flips and backflips and all that kind of stuff, not necessary. It reminded me of, like, in Jurassic Park 2 with the gymnast flips and all that stuff. You don't need that kind of stuff sometimes. But for the most part, really enjoyed what I was watching, and it seemed like a small budget horror film that I think more franchises should take. Terminator, of course, should do this.
I agree, and I think that's why Perry liked it. I'm really excited because I hear about it being so distinguished from the other ones, and I think that's what you need. Like, if you're gonna, like, make a franchise back to life, you need to make sure you carve out your own new niche, because trying to be the old niche isn't working. I think this era of nostalgia has its place, and I love when modern movies have 80s sensibilities, but you're not going to ever make a movie feel like, that thing again. Like, lightning can't strike twice with a thing. So learn from that, find your foundation, and then play with genre and tone. It's working for Marvel. It'll work for other stuff.
Right.
And even at the point, I know it's gotten a little dark and how things have moved, but Creed, again, a great example. You like you said, carve out your own niche, carve out your own little area where you can still connect to the universe in whatever way, but do your own thing. And I would love to see that with Terminator. My question is, where would you go, Kristian? What would, if you were to
for Terminator? For Terminator, I mean, it depends on whatever story. I mean, look, the beauty that Terminator has is that you can play with time whenever you want. Like what I thought was smart about this with Predator is they went back in time because the Predator can do that, obviously, whenever the Predator shows up, and it was 300 years beforehand. And the other thing that, if you really want to melt your brain, is no one is saying, because like I said this is a sequel, right? And they're like, oh, it's a prequel. I mean, now look, it very well could be a prequel because it takes place 300 years beforehand. However, because of time and because of space and because of all that, this could have been the alien that let's say the first alien in 1987, his name's Fred. And Fred lost to Dutch, and Fred got killed and all that stuff too. And be like, man, you hear what happened to Fred? Yeah, man. He tried to go up against Arnold too. Yeah, and then Louis went down, and Gary Busey and him took him out. And then this happened, and then this guy's doing this, and they're going on planets. What's Jerry doing? Well, Jerry figured it out. Jerry's going back 300 years He's going to go back even more so. He's flying through. So it could still be a sequel. So shut up.
He's killing baby Hitler. He's going to kill the earlier one.
And he's going back 300 years before, and this time he hits it, but he runs into problems with the Comanches. What I will say about Prey also, by the way, and I'll answer your question about Terminator in a second, Winston, but the other thing about Prey is that there's a version of the movie, and I don't know if you're seeing that tonight, Coy, but there's a version where it's the Comanche version where
it's the premiere, so I'm sure it's going to be the English, but I want to see that one badly.
I would prefer to see that one now, and I'll tell you because there a couple of times, and this is not against her, Amber, because it's just what the language seems very modern sometimes, and it doesn't seem like it seems like she's just talking as if she's talking like we're talking,
yeah.
It doesn't seem like the way people would talk English back in 300 years ago. So that's why I was like, I'd rather see this. I think that it will play even more.
I love that they have that. I mean, that's kind of unheard of for a film of this scope to have two full versions. That's genius.
I understand why. Because not everybody's gonna want to do it. And they're like, I have a whole damn thing, because there's French people that show up and they're all dubbed, which I loved. They're all dubbed. And I get why they did it, because
if the Americans are dubbed, then the French should be dubbed. It's just like if it was all subbed, it should be all subbed. Like if it's all alien, then it should all be alien.
But the only thing is that what I understand is that you're gonna get people who turn it on Hulu and go, this whole thing's in subtitles. I'm trying to see you later, Coy.
I got a call as the Predator. I was like, so
that was it. So I get it. I want to see that. But Winston, as far as Terminator goes, the first Terminator, everybody loves Terminator 2. Everybody loves Terminator 2. And I really, really enjoy Terminator 2. I think Terminator 1 is far superior. I think it is far superior.
Really?
And I've said this many times over since my days on Schmoes. It's far superior. Because
you also said that about Alien over Aliens, didn't you?
No, I like Aliens more so. I understand why people like it. It's the same.
The genre thing we're talking about.
The genre thing.
Yeah. Aliens, and I think Aliens is more
similar
of
to T2. They're both sci-fi action movies, and the first ones are both horror movies.
Absolutely, but I just think there's just something more simple, and I love T2, I really do. But T1 to me is that simple premise, and it was low budget. It was a science fiction horror film, but it had it was raw, and there was just as a kid it terrified me. But it also, I was just blown away by it, right? And once they went to T2 in that grand scale, they never came back. And they need to go back. They need to go back to that same type of feel and shoot it something like this. Shoot a movie like this for Hulu for Terminator. Maybe that's the fix. And like you look at the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Have you seen Sarah Connor? You know what? I do it. And I don't know if you guys heard this, but recently it came out that he farted in the lady's face. It came out. I don't know. This is a great story. And the Harry Potter lady, she came out and told about it. And it was during one of the movies, and I farted in her face. That's what I'm going to do to the next Terminator. I'm going to grab him and then say, "Take that."
All that protein, man. What he was consuming back then, that must have been
taking her out.
Oh god damn!
Like an Arnold protein fart would be.
Come on, eggs, meat,
hasta la vista.
Everything. Yeah, see you later,
damn. I need your clothes, boots, and motorcycle.
You think I became the governor? We just fought and everyone's.
They voted for me.
That orb when he lands is actually just gas. Like he just clears out space. Like that's how he travels through time.
Boom goes the dynamite.
That's actually how he killed everybody in that bar.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, the war of the Terminator we see in the opening of T2 is just Arnold with gas.
Stay out of the blast one. But what I will say is that the Sarah
Edward Furlong never recovered.
No, the Sarah Connor Chronicles with Lena Headey. It's a really good show for a while, and then it became like Adventure of the Week type thing. But I also think what happened to that show was that show needed streaming. That show needed to be on a streaming platform, because now you can do shows between whether it's 6, 8, 10, 12 episodes, and you can tell your story. On network TV, we need 22. And it's like, yeah, we don't know what's she going to do with the Terminator now and this and that.
And budget, like you're going to spread out 8 episodes budget, like because and then you have to do the villain of the week thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what they should do with Terminator is to go back and take a page off of Prey and do a low budget TV movie, do whatever it might be. Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn didn't cost nothing to do when you back then. Find people who are really great actors and get them, and yes, maybe get one big star. And Arnold was getting big at that point. You know, he was obviously a massive star in the bodybuilding world, and he did Conan the Barbarian, but he wasn't Arnold, and he wanted to play, and I think he wanted to play that. I can't remember. I can't remember if it's he wanted to play the good guy and Cameron wanted him to play the bad guy, or the opposite, but something like that happened.
I just remember that OJ thought no one would believe that Cameron thought no one would believe OJ as a villain, and that's a dark twist.
Well, listen, back then that was true.
That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy that like
back then he was selling Hertz, bro. He wasn't out here hurting people.
Exactly.
He was selling Hertz behind closed doors, and then on TV.
But chase me, see where we're gonna go. Get in the Bronco.
But Kristian, I think I see even what kind of allowed Sarah Connor Chronicles to work is that first. I don't know if you remember that first season was in 2008, and you're dealing with the writer's strike at the time,
right?
Ooh. So it was only 9 episodes. They were going to do a 13 episode season, and it only ended up being 9. And then the second one.
Okay, how many was the second episode? The second
22.
Season.
Right. Ooh. So that became the issue. Is that when you were truncated, you're exactly right. They naturally got what streaming did for a lot of shows.
That's why.
What do you guys think about?
So good.
We're kind of cycling the other way. What do you guys think about the 18 episode Daredevil?
Well, great question. It really depends. Like, I don't think it doesn't seem like they're going to make a show 18 episodes if they don't have a story to tell.
And there's a huge comic story. Born Again is and like, but that's 4.5 months of Daredevil.
But that's what I mean, though, that they have to have a story to tell because they're what we were just talking about with network, like Lost. Hey, we really like Lost, and we want you guys to do 22 episodes. And Lindelof's like, what? 22 episodes? Good Lord. That doesn't happen with Marvel. The Marvel's right. Like, our plan for this is, okay, we got Oscar Isaac. He only wants to do 6 episodes. All right, well, that's all right. We can do a 6-episode arc. Those can be 35 minutes, 45 minutes, fine. Yeah, that's great. Let's do that. This Daredevil thing that we have, what's the name of the
Born Again. All
right, so Born Again. We can do this, but man, this is a long angle, dude. So what are we going to do? Can we do 18 episodes, or was it 18 episodes? Can we do that many? Yeah, if we spread them out, do that, incorporate Echo and do all this stuff and bring it in D'Onofrio and
so
and maybe
you're saying the modern TV era, especially with Marvel, they have the story first, then they chop accordingly.
Yeah, because
versus the other way.
Well, because they're calling their shots. It's the network back in the day I see
what you're saying. Yeah, they're making it in house. So why would they?
Look at what Winston was just saying with Terminator, right? So Terminator comes out, they do 7 or 8 episodes, and they tell the story they want to tell in 7. Everybody loves it, and then they come back after the strike, and it's like, okay, great, let's do 22, and then it just gets watered down because it's like they have to force it out to get the sponsors, do all that. Marvel's calling the shots as far as their material, and they go, this is like the biggest one that I think any series has done in streaming in a while, right? What was the last 18 episode streaming series? Outlander?
I could not tell you.
I couldn't tell you, honestly, because the most I can think of is about 13, and that's Outlander, even on a comedy.
Outlander had my wife has been watching Outlander, and I
that's
think
Netflix,
but it was started on BC.
Okay, so that's kind of got a formatting thing too.
Yeah,
it's a raw. It's 16 episodes still.
Because Netflix was 13 for the Netflix Marvel shows, and that was Netflix in-house. And then Marvel's been 6, which is too short in my opinion for some of the shows.
It was 10 for Wanda,
9 I think for Wanda, because I remember thinking it was an odd number.
Yeah,
I think it was 9 for Wanda. I think it's been 6 for everything else, and I think What If was like 9.
8 or 9. If they were going to do this, what I would actually prefer, because they've gotten really good at telling these 2 little arcs, or telling these small like 6-episode arcs, then give me 9 episodes, give me a broken up season. So the way you would look at regular network, and you would start in August, take the winter hiatus, come back in like late January, early February, do the same thing with Born Again. Give me 9 episodes and leave me on a cliffhanger. Give me some time to breathe, because then you can
See,
really.
I'm excited for 4 months of straight Daredevil. Because we haven't had that. And how long has it been since we've been like, let's watch 4 months of a show?
That's why, though, because of what I just said. Like, if it, Winston, I will agree with you if we're watching it and it feels like, okay, they're just kind of pulling in a lot of filler here. Why don't they just make this 2 seasons as opposed to no. They have a full story that they want to tell because it leads into the phase that they need to go into.
Winston, have you read Born Again?
I haven't read Born Again. I'm not familiar
We should
with
do, and if Kristian's down, we should all read it leading up to the show because we got years. And then that way we have like an informed comic opinion. It'd be fun if new to comic Kristian versed in comic Coy Winston, and then we dive into it with the comic expectation.
I mean, I'm totally down. I mean, to be honest with you,
if the internet's still on in 2 years.
I know, right? Yeah, I've been digesting so much X-Men right now because I'm trying to figure out what I think the MCU is going to do.
Well, let's talk about that in a second. And before we do, I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about Athletic Greens. I know that you have, and I know that you should continue to hear me talk about Athletic Greens. Everybody's enjoying it, and I'm so excited. I get comments all the time. I want to even read one of the ones that I got this morning from one of our viewers, and it was incredible. And let me tell you right now, I know that recently. Oh shoot! Of course I don't have it. Anyway, I get a comment every day about Athletic Greens, and I got one this morning, and I sent it to the podcast rep. And I'm excited that you guys are continuing to get Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, for those who don't know, I'm not a big vitamins person, but with Athletic Greens, I've been getting some extra boosted energy, and I didn't have the time to take all the vitamins that everyone said, you need to do this, you need to take this. I wanted the better gut health. I wanted more energy. I wanted all of it, and I get it now. And if you don't know what it is, you take 1 scoop of Athletic Greens and you take 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, and you start your day off right. And you don't have to just say start the day off right. You can also, when I go, I did a set the other night at Flappers last week, and I was and I needed some energy, man. And it was such a nice. I felt like it was like a healthy dose of energy. I loved it. And again, someone, one of our listeners said, "Well, I'm not a big. I'm more of a meat and potatoes." That's not what this is. This is vitamins, baby, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, so all of it. And for me, it benefits my lifestyle because it's been helping me sleep. Tastes good, surprisingly. Because it looks green, you're like, it tastes good. I got Winston hooked on it now. I got Coy, Roxy, and Steph. Everybody. Our good friend Chris Van Vliet is swears by it. Supports better sleep quality, recovery. It costs you less than $3 a day. And I saw Coy posting about coffee at one point. Cut that out. He's like, I try to do this. Try to get the Athletic Greens in your system and shut your trap, Coy. And it's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews, and it's recommended by professional athletes. So reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. And this is an easy deal. It's the best deal. Athletic Greens gives you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/big-thing. Again, athleticgreens.com/big-thing. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, what I also love about what I've been seeing lately is people are saying, all right, you talk about it all the time. I'll try it. I will support the show. I'll help the show. And they're like, thank God I did. I re-upped. I did it again. I got more packets, and people are really enjoying it. So I'm excited. that people are enjoying it. All right, gentlemen. Well, first of all, Winston, you still doing the Athletic Greens?
I am. They're delicious, man. I mean, what's there not to love about it? And I genuinely also just really appreciate how I feel on it. Especially I'm in the middle of Whole30 right now, and I try not to use pre-workout. Athletic Greens has been. I know you said toss coffee. I do coffee when I wake up first thing in the morning, but the Athletic Greens I take. I do 30 30 minutes before a workout, and I feel great.
Yeah.
I do black coffee and first thing in the morning to like exist, and then that gets me through that midday hump. Like Athletic Greens legit. I keep in my car those little travel packs, then like if I have a bottle of water, it's just, and then I'm good for that mid. Because at like 3, I get tired. That's just who I am.
I'm completely kidding with you. I have that. But Athletic Greens has become like my routine. I have to grab that as well too. So it's coffee and Athletic Greens. Anyway, all right. So Winston, you're talking about the X-Men, right? So you're really trying to figure this out and where they're going to show up, and because I think that the Fantastic Four thing, and now that Coy says that with the thing showing up, I think that's more and more.
I think it makes sense.
I just think it makes more sense because they've announced it already. Like X-Men, they've been sprinkling in there. You get Namor, obviously, you get Ms. Marvel now confirmed with the little X-Men music. Oh, here's something to bring up before we hold on the X-Men thought, because I wanted to bring this up and I don't want to forget. Andor was pushed back, and I think this is a good move for She-Hulk, because now I don't know overall, maybe you guys can fill me in, but this is what I've heard. Ms. Marvel to me was one of the better Marvel shows, but it didn't do very well. Now there could be a lot of different reasons, and one of the reasons it didn't do well is because Obi-Wan and Ms. Marvel dropped on the same day. That to me was
a mistake. That was a mistake.
It looks like they're learning from that mistake, and they're moving, and that's also probably one of the reasons that they're moving Andor, because they also don't want to drop the same time as Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and have to deal with that wave of marketing.
Also,
but
7 weeks is not, or like I think it's a 6-week delay because it wasn't even supposed to be out this week. But like I think the delay is reasonable and it gives them a little time to breathe. But I hated that Obi-Wan and Ms. Marvel the same night, because it was like, I enjoy both, but I don't want to be up till 2 a.m. Like I think, you know, and some people can casually watch, but they're not targeting that audience for we're the advertisement, right? Like us diehards, whether it's Twitter, whether it's us that are lucky enough to do it professionally, whether it's whatever. But we, as an audience, are the reason these shows get as big as they do. So if you're inherently making the diehards compete for your attention, I think that's a bad move.
It is. And, and you know, you could see it, Winston, maybe the argument at first is, well, you know, as Coy was just saying, we put them out at the same time and they'll watch Obi-Wan today and then they'll watch Ms. Marvel tomorrow. But what they weren't taking in consideration was, with the TikTok generation, with YouTube, with all this stuff, is that when people are searching through their stuff and they're just talking about Obi-Wan, that's in the cycle for at least a couple of days, and then the other ones start to go away. And Miss Marvel, because I can tell you personally, I watched that whole thing, and I was covering obviously Obi-Wan, and I would watch Miss Marvel in the same, like either the next day, you know, but I would lose because everything on my channel was going to Obi-Wan. I had all that stuff, and then I would go, okay, you know what? I'll get to Miss Marvel the next day or the next. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll just cover it again next week because I missed it. And then I think I covered 4 out of this. Well, how many were there? Were there 6?
There were 6.
I think I covered 4 out of the 6 or 3 out of the 6. And the only reason I covered the first 3 was because I got the screenings earlier that I could go out and say it. So I think this is a good move. Winston, do you think it's a smart move for She-Hulk that they're getting it out of the way?
I would. You know, I like, if you were going to do this, I think this was the biggest problem. If you were going to release them both, then give them at least separate days.
Right.
To put them both on Wednesday, to me, was a massive mistake, because the other thing that they bank off of are those people that wait till midnight.
Yeah.
And then you got to make a decision. Am I going to watch Obi-Wan or am I going to watch Ms. Marvel? And like you said, fatigue 1,000% kicked in for me. I ended up having to binge watch the end of Ms. Marvel because I was like, I just have the energy for everything that's going on right now. So I genuinely hope, and this to me seems like the big thing that they should do. I know you've got slightly different audiences with Star Wars and Marvel and all that kind of stuff. Pick one to be the flagship. And if you want to maybe introduce Miss Marvel the last week of Obi-Wan, thinking you could do a carryover, that'd be one thing. But I think
you can do the old TGIF thing, and it can lead into the next thing. Like, remember, there'd be like, and tonight after the finale of Drew Carey is the season premiere of, like, that is something, but like not every week.
Right. And the other thing, and we talked about this we had Miguel Fernandez, who is a really great writer for Star Wars Newsnet. He was on Sith Council this week, and I agree with what he was saying. I don't understand still the same, but you're still going to get a lap with She-Hulk and Andor, right? Because I think She-Hulk is 9 episodes or 10 episodes, Coy. Do you remember?
I think it's 9, because I think they're between 6 and 9, but I could be wrong. Could be 10.
Okay. Either way, it's there's there's more. It might even be 12. Let me see how many of those She-Hulk is. But either way, it's gonna have a lap at one point.
Because Andor's only 7 weeks from right now.
Yeah, there are 9 episodes. Yeah,
Okay.
So there are 9 episodes, but the problem also is why not drop one on Wednesday? Why not drop one on Friday? Why are they dropping both on Wednesday?
I assume it's because they found through whatever algorithm that people on TikTok, people on social media are on it more during the week, and then maybe the weekends belong to movies.
Yeah, I know, maybe, but you still have 2 shows on at the same time, so like separate them. And
yeah, I definitely think it should be. I was thinking like Monday, Wednesday. I was thinking that maybe they're just worried about the whatever movie release, because you don't want a Disney movie to eat into your Disney
August
Plus.
and September. There's nothing going on right now. And the other thing, by the way, is why isn't Ms. Marvel on right now? There's nothing on right now. Like nothing.
It's nice to breathe for us, but it would have been nice.
This would have been if we had waited for Obi-Wan. I want to say this would have been the week of like her finale, which would have been perfect. It's been dead air.
Yeah,
like this would have been the perfect time. Then you have like a week or two.
You're competing with Bullet Train, which is a different audience completely, and it's in the theaters. You got Prey, rated R movie. It's like why they didn't put Ms. Marvel. Maybe, I mean, again,
you guys know from the beginning, I was saying I thought Ms. Marvel would lead to X-Men. I thought it was DODC though. I predicted it like 7 out of 10 of the way. Yeah. I assumed that they had it come out the week before Comicon because they were going to make Comicon X-Men heavy. But when they didn't, I was like, well, then it would have been nice to be casual. Like it would have been nice to rest.
Yeah, I'd love to see the reasoning for that and wondering why. That's a question that I would love to ask Feige. I'd love to ask him why do they do that? Why do they overlap shows? And and maybe it's one of those questions, and maybe he has conversations with Disney about it. I don't know. It's just it's very interesting. But I don't know. Let's also move on. The other news that came out was that Tomb Raider, there's a sequel that was scrapped after Tomb Raider. I think it's more of a game, I guess, than comics. But like I said, on this show, it's more about the geeky stuff than just comic book heavy specific stuff, so Tomb Raider
gatekeeping, it's all welcome.
No, not at all. It's like it's the geeky stuff. That's the stuff. That's really what Capes and Cowls is about. So Tomb Raider sequel is scrapped after MGM loses franchise rights. Reboot with new star officially in the works. It's like the 87th version. I didn't mind the Alicia Vikander version. I actually thought it was pretty fun. I thought she had more of a I don't know. I think I even liked it more than the Angelina Jolie ones, to be honest with you. But MGM waited too long to move forward with the Tomb Raider sequel starring Alicia Vikander, and now a reboot is now officially in the works with Lara Croft. So find more details on that after the jump. Okay. Let's see. So the studio had until May of this year to get cameras rolling, and it has passed. Now Hollywood movie studios have embarked on something of a bidding war for the IP. The trade confirms that Vikander is no longer attached, and it'll be a total reboot. So 2018's Tomb Raider earned $275 at the worldwide box office and met with mediocre reviews. I don't know how much it cost, but the 2 movies starring Angelina Jolie were similarly underwhelming, with combined total of $432 million. So there's success to be found, but clearly not this current iteration of the franchise. Anyway, after the success of Uncharted, it's probably
Sonic.
And I have seen part 1, by the way.
So good, man. What'd you think?
I liked it. It was really cute.
It's fun, right?
A lot of fun. Yeah, I liked it.
I would honestly say it might be the best video game adaptation, period. Like, I mean, I know they're still trying to figure out the kinks in doing those types of movies, but it might be my favorite one ever.
I think Sonic 2 is my favorite ever, and Sonic 1's not far behind, and that's saying a lot. And that's because Idris Elba's Knuckles.
I'm curious about what. First of all, have you guys seen? And we can get back to this Tomb Raider story in a second. Have you either one of you guys seen the Resident Evil series on Netflix?
Not yet. No. Is it good?
So I started watching it. It definitely had a Walking Dead feel to it for sure. I mean, that's the obvious. But I didn't finish it because I was watching it, and then my daughter came in, and obviously it wasn't appropriate for her, so I turned it off and never went back to it. But Coy, is it any good?
I really liked that it felt more like they loved the video game instead of they were trying to be the video game. And I think that's a really important distinction. I think my biggest issue with, like, a great example is Hellboy. I think Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro love the comics, and they made a movie of the comic. Whereas I feel like the one with David Harbour was trying to be the comic on screen. And I think that's really dangerous, adaptation versus translation. Comics should be adapted. They should not be translated. The mediums are separate for a reason, and the strengths of each medium should be respected. What I like about the Resident Evil show is that it feels like the people that are making it love Umbrella. They love the world. So I got to, as a fan of the old PS1 games, like way back in the day, it felt like I was immersed in the world, but they weren't trying to make the game a show. So I dug it, but I also appreciate the more abstract, slow burn concepts than some of the fans might, because I don't love gore, I love story. And so there's some episodes that are just like, think pieces about the morality of man that I found more interesting than others might, but I got a lot out of it.
All right, so let's see. So this Tomb Raider story then, is this, I mean, obviously if you can get with the world of IP and the way IP is, and using Uncharted as an example, if you can get your hands on this, you do it, and you find a way to do it. Now, the question is, do you think that this will wind up being a movie? Because it looks like they said it's going to be, or should they start looking into a potential series with doing this on a streaming and going to an HBO Max or going to a whoever picks that, whatever studio picks it up could do it, or do they just think there's too big bucks in the film version? I'm just saying, you look at those numbers with all three of those movies coming in slightly underwhelming. Does it maybe play better as a high budgeted TV series?
I mean, if you put it in a way of like, this island or this tomb or whatever is a season, instead of making it like, and this week we're going to check out whatever. If you're like, she's dealing with this the way you would the video game, which would be 60 plus hours in one locale. If you do the same thing with each TV season, I think that would be phenomenal, honestly.
Yeah.
For me, it would depend on how they paced it, because when I personally think adventure and like swashbuckling, I think movies. I think Romancing the Stone, Indiana Jones, like those things. There's not a lot of iconic adventure shows. I could be wrong. I'm way more versed in film than TV, but my instinct is 3-act structure.
You ever seen Game of Thrones?
Well, that's fantasy, right? Like that's got a different.
I mean,
it is adventure. That's fair.
Yeah,
but think about all the other elements that come into fantasy. You've got like the spectacle of dragons, the spectacle of the family, like all that dynamic.
Yeah, you're talking specifically with.
Yeah, I'm talking like The Mummy. I think would work better as a movie than a show. Well, like The Mummy, I think.
They're doing National Treasure. See you later, quick.
Everyone's calling me today.
Yeah, they're doing National Treasure as a series. They're doing but I just think I understand that way of thinking. I know the audience goes, "Oh, big surprise! Kristian wants something as a TV show." But yeah, and I get it.
He's got kids.
No. It's not that. It's that I was never a TV person. I was always a movie person. Obviously, with Schmoes starting movies, like it was Schmoes no movies. But streaming really changed the game, and streaming has only been around like these streaming wars for like 3 years. Like maybe because Disney Plus launched in 2019.
To this scale, this level, I think
that's what I mean.
Because Netflix is like 8 or 9 years, but it was competing with Netflix.
But it was going up against no one, and Netflix was creating the game, and then people started playing the game. But the reason why I like it is that you can really develop characters, and you can develop like these. Is strong, and when people say to me, when you look at a series that doesn't work or they're not happy with, like, do you still think Star Wars should be a TV show? Yes, I just look at Andor. I still think that there's stuff that you can do if you do it right. You still have to have the right scripts. You still have to have the right directors and actors and everything too, just like you do in movies. But I think you can develop it over a course of time that you can't do in film.
I would even say, Coy, I know that this is going to be more sci-fi, but you want to talk about like adventures and having to explore. I mean, that's literally what Star Trek is. So just instead of putting it in like a, space futuristic type setting, you're now just putting it in this case, modern tomb raiding. Like as Lara Croft does.
Well, look at Percy Jackson, right? So Percy Jackson, and I get it, books, but video games are very deep.
It's all long form, yeah.
Well, long form. So, but you wouldn't even imagine that a book like Harry Potter there's no chance they make it into a TV series back in 2000. But when you look at these books and what you can do, because and I've read a lot of the Harry Potter books and I love the Harry Potter movies, but a lot of times I remember going to see the movies and going, oh, they had to cut that detail out. It makes sense. They had to cut
Goblet of Fire, man. The Triwizard Tournament got gutted.
But they only have 2.5 hours to tell the story. right?
Yeah.
And you have basically 8 to 10 hours to tell it on TV. And that's what Percy Jackson was. I tell this story about my daughter, who is a massive Percy Jackson book fan, right? And she watched the movies, and when she was a little kid, she's like, oh, and then she starts getting older and reading internet stuff and everything. She's like, real Percy Jackson fans don't like the movies, Dad. They didn't express Rick, whatever the hell the guy's name is, Rick Riordan's vision, and now he likes this one. And that's the Avenger series you're talking about, Coy. This is an Avenger series, the Percy Jackson, you know?
And I think I need, just for my own bias, I just need to see more examples so I can go. My instinct is always towards movies because I'm still in that space. But at the same time, I want X-Men as a series. So because I see X-Men as like classroom, long form, I want to see the school actually get its time to shine. So I'm the same way you're talking about Harry Potter. I think X-Men should be series that lead to event movies. I think they should be X Factor can be a show, X-Men can be a show, Generation X can be a show. I'd love the movies to be events, but I think we need 10 hours of the X-Men a year, not 2.
It's part of the reason. I mean, obviously they have a massive effect in the rest of Marvel, but it's part of the reason why Fox was able to tentpole on
20 movies.
Really just the X-Men, because that roster runs deep, you know?
And if you look at that Fox universe, like, yes, it has many faults, but that's a really cool universe that they built out of one IP, and I think a show could be like that.
You know what show would be great? And Coy, I'm gonna blow your mind here. They actually have a comic book reference that one that I remember very much so was the series that Wolverine did with Havoc, Meltdown.
Yes, that is a very niche bit of knowledge. Yes, that would be
super niche. Whoa,
Meltdown when I was younger, and I loved it. I loved the art. The art was so different. And it was really gritty and violent. But imagine,
they used Havoc's energy in a really cool, different way. Like it was really visceral and intense. Like Havoc got to be a badass because he's a Summers. He should be. That
is. I'd love to see that series because I hope they get. Because to me, the best, and I guess this is pretty cliche to say at this point, but I think the most true to form Wolverine that we saw, the two were X-Men 2 for sure, but Logan, and like. That's the guy that I want to see. Like Logan, I know he's old man Logan at that point, but I want to see that kind of grit for a series.
That opening Berserker Rage when he's broken, but he's like ripping those dudes apart. That's what I always wanted out of those movies.
Yes, absolutely. All right,
and Days of Future Past for a couple moments too. There's some times where the loyalty and honor of him really got to shine. Like I feel like Hugh Jackman only got better as time went on.
I want to go back and watch that movie. It's a really good movie. Yeah.
Rewatch.
All right. So I want to bring this up because this is The Boys season 4. Adds Susan Hayward and Valerie Curry, and Cameron Crevetti, who plays Homelander's son, is upped to a series regular. The 4th season of Prime Video. It makes sense if you see the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th season of Prime Video's The Boys has made its first casting additions with Susan Hayward, Orange is the New Black, and Valerie Curry from The Following coming aboard as a pair of new superheroes, or Supes. The Boys showrunner Eric Kripke has taken to Twitter and announced the cast additions. We don't know much about the characters since neither appear in the comic books, but Kripke says these new Supes are going to be some of the best and craziest ever written for The Boys. You're going to love them, and by love I mean absolutely horrified and a tiny bit nauseous. We're going to go ahead and assume these guys are the most like the other Supes we encounter in the Prime series, just awful. So it's great. I mean, look, that show is, to me, that's one of my favorite shows on TV right now. So I'm glad they're doing season 4. And season 4 will most likely come out the end of next year, I would assume.
I mean, they're filming in a week.
Okay.
So they're filming really soon. I don't know how long they're going to be filming, but I know it's a decently long production. I did a set visit once, and I think it was like a 7 or 8 months production. So I am
do the same thing they did last year. They'll probably start running it. What the hell are we in? We're in August, so probably like June or July.
I'd imagine, or maybe they'll do that like spring because we had a 2-year gap. So maybe they'll try to like cut the difference, you know what I mean, to catch up to where they had the original pace. But either way, I think it's interesting. We're getting that college show in between, right? We're getting there's a something V. What are they called? Generation V, because it's a play on Generation X plus the V Vought. So Generation V is a college, like it's Van Wilder meets The Boys, and it's based off the comics. There's a lot of offshoots in the comic books where there's like teen and college heroes. So I think it's interesting. This casting is bringing in a younger generation to the main show, and I'm wondering how that's going to correlate with the Generation V show.
Interesting. All right. So the other thing I want to talk to you guys about before we leave here too is that obviously we have a show here for Star Wars, but I don't really talk to Coy and Winston about Star Wars often. So I wanted to talk to you guys about Lawrence Kasdan, who they have that ILM series that's on Disney Plus right now, and he directed it, and they were interviewing him. And this is an interview that they had. The Empire Strikes Back, right, again, comicbookmovie.com. The Empire Strikes Back writer Lawrence Kasdan has said he would be open to penning a sequel to Solo, a Star Wars story. Right now, John Hoey is jumping up and down on the moon. But the Lucasfilm icon has this very specific condition. And Lawrence Kasdan, his name might not be as instantly familiar as George Lucas, but make no mistake about it, his contributions to the Star Wars universe were massive. He wrote the screenplays for Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and he was even enlisted for the Force Awakens. It's hardly a surprise that he was tasked with penning Solo Star Wars stories, but with a change in directors and a multitude of issues behind the scenes, the movie had the odds stacked against it from early on. Reviews were tepid, while the $393 million global box office was considered a disappointment after the budget ballooned to as much as $300 million. Despite that, fans remain keen to see more. Fans remain keen. I'd say there's a sect of fans that want to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's. I wouldn't say fans. I'd say there's. Here, let me rewrite this for them. Despite that, there are some fans that remain keen to see more of Alden Han Solo, especially after the movie ended on a massive cliffhanger involving Darth Maul. During a recent interview, Lawrence was asked if he'd be open to continue Han Solo on Disney Plus, to which Kasdan said, no, there's not any talk of that. I've never been particularly drawn to expanding Solo into a show, but I do talk to John Kasdan and Ron about what went down and what went wrong with the Solo experience. I would be more interested in doing another movie, not a TV show. We're guessing that means Kasdan won't be part of the Lando series that appears to have fallen by the wayside. Anyway, so let's talk about all that. I do not like. I really like. I love to me. So Lacey Gillerin and John Hoey and James and all those guys over at Star Wars Newsnet and Brian, the great Brian Ward, they are leading the charge for Make Solo 2 happen. I will not be seeing that movie if it comes out in the theater. I applaud them, and I love that they're doing that. That they're so passionate about it. I think like I said, I think it's just it's like a little rebellion. And if they love it, I don't hate the movie. It's fine, but I don't need to see a second one. I would much rather see a Crimson Dawn series. But what do you guys think? I talk about this enough on Sith. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, Winston. What do you think?
I think the way to go, honestly, and it's sad that the creator said, or the writer says he doesn't want any part of it, is to do exactly what you just did with Andor. Yeah. Like Rogue One was phenomenal. I don't need a Rogue One sequel or prequel movie. I would much rather you give me something where I can dive into Cassian Andor and learn more about him. And this might be the most excited I've been for a Star Wars.
It's really good.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
Mainly because I love the Jedi, the Force is like my favorite element of Star Wars, as is with a lot of people. But what made Game of Thrones so good is while you had a lot of that action, it really came down to the crazy politics to get to the Iron Throne. And Andor feels like a political thriller that's going to throw in some action for me every now and again. And I'm actually really here for that.
Well, that's what we were talking about, dude, with TV. You have more time to do that. They're going to do potentially 3 seasons of 12 episodes to do this.
36 episodes of this.
Of Star Wars inside the Star Wars universe to really build on it, because in a movie, you're forced to, and rightfully so, you're forced to make, we need a big space battle or they're going to get bored. And it's
I think what I love about Rogue One and what I love about how the show looks is it's the wars in Star Wars.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of Star. I want more wars.
100%.
So I'm very excited for that. And I think that it'd be great to see. Personally, I'm as biased as it comes towards Solo because I love Lord and Miller and I went to acting class with Alden. So I want to see Alden do well. And I hate the fact that I don't think that was his fault. And I can't imagine what it's like to be in he's got a great career, but then he had to take some time because you're the face of that. So no matter how people perceive it, he's the face of that movie not doing well.
He threw him under the bus. That wasn't a help.
Yeah, so it's everyone kind of looks at him as this thing that went wrong, and that's not the case. He's a very talented actor. So I want redemption for Alden more than I want redemption for Solo 2, but he's going to be an Ironheart. So I've got hope that he'll get back on people's good graces.
I'd like to see him. Well, but I don't think I don't think there's a lot of people that think he did a bad job, because I certainly don't think I don't, and I think this is more so of a directing thing than anything else too. I actually think the guy's a phenomenal actor. I think he's a great actor. I just never bought him as Han Solo. I thought I thought whatever character he was playing, he played it really well. And I would have loved to seen that character as like like a new
John Bolo.
But just a different character, like just a different his and there are people who make the argument, and I would debate with somebody for like 3 hours on this, where they're like, well, but he wasn't really, he didn't turn into the Han Solo we knew until, because he had to discover himself and everything too. I'm like, like if you go back and you see 4-year-old Coy Jandreau,
I've been like this.
Still the same high energy kid, and he's got it. Yes, there's different things he learned about himself along the way, but he's still the same dude. He didn't turn in magically to a new person.
Like Kristian, to further stamp your point, I do agree that this dude is a good actor, but Donald Glover, in my opinion, did such a better job of playing a young Lando, because what it felt like is all of a sudden, Billy D. Williams just felt like a more mature version.
Yes.
As in, like, he just got older. So, but Lando was at his core. It genuinely felt like this was a different character completely.
Yes, Lando was a younger version of who we saw Billy as, and 100% what you just said, Winston. Just wasn't. And not that Lando that we met was super mature, but he was more mature and he was more established, and he understood how to play the game, and he had been swindled before, and he had done these things. So you saw that in the transformation of it. Like, there were just things that this version of Han Solo was doing, and there was no swagger to him. There was no swagger. And it's like, oh, you just developed this swagger one day. You have the swagger or you don't have it. You don't just find swagger. You have it or you don't.
I would have liked to see him as an original character in the Rebel Alliance or something. And that would have been fun, and that worked for the story.
You could have called that movie anything else and changed it up, and just, obviously without the Falcon and other things, and moved things around, made it some kind of ship and put it in a different time. And you could have made that movie a very different movie and not put that pressure on him to follow Harrison. But anyway, I would much rather, and if he showed up as Han Solo in the Crimson Dawn series, sure. Crimson Dawn to me is way more fascinating. What Winston just said about Andor, like because that's what I thought they were going to do with Boba Fett, and they didn't, but really dive into the underworld and what the crime and the really is, and watching this, like the betrayal and the backstabbing and the mob bosses and all that, like inside of Crimson Dawn. That would be fascinating to me, and really go a little darker for sure.
I just need a Skywalker free zone. I love the galaxy far, far away. I just want to expand out. So I'd love to see some new
Acolyte, man. I want to get to the Acolyte. But anyway, all right, look, that was the first episode of Sith Council. No.
Sorry, again, Mike and Steph.
I actually really like the fact that we can talk about that too. This is Capes and Cowls for everybody who's going to be watching this show and tuning into this show. This show will be more of a kind of geeky pop culture thing. As you know, we covered Prey, we covered The Boys, we covered Star Wars, we covered Marvel, we'll cover, DC, I guess, too. The last thing I want to cover before we say goodbye, we didn't really talk about this, guys, and that was Ben Affleck confirmed in Aquaman 2. Now here's my, I think it's I don't care. I'm getting exhausted for people who see Snyderverse exists, and this it does great. I hope that it does. I like what I think that they can do is that they can put together what DC has been doing really well, and that is there's these movies, whether it's Shazam, Aquaman, any of these movies that connect, and then there's side adventures and things that work too. Great, continue to do that. I'm more concerned. Why didn't they announce this at Comicon? They would have had something. They should have, instead of 3 days later on an Instagram post from their star, post the damn thing. Hall H. Do it at Hall H.
If I had to guess, Kristian, I think part of it might have been, like you said, they've been in a little bit of disarray right now. And I think it might have been a situation where they were like, all right, if we can just, get this, we need something. We clearly lost Comic-Con. Then they were like, Jason, do you mind just throwing that out there? And I think you just needed to build something up, because they thought Black Adam and Shazam would be enough, and it clearly wasn't, because people have so many questions about what's going on with the Flash and what the future is.
Yeah, and then the Apple report comes out, which is not their fault. But
to be in the room, to be honest, when they showed Flash in the Shazam trailer in the room, there was that Like there was a collective like.
Yeah, you know what?
And it felt weird, dude.
Yeah, I know. But you know what they and I said this many times over, but I just don't think I've said it on this show yet. Is that what Warner Brothers should have done? Because Dwayne Johnson really wanted to go to Hall H. He's a massive showman. He wants to be there. He wants to be among the fans, as he should have been. Shazam. They wanted to present Shazam and give more for them to look at. On the bill for Comicon, it said Warner Brothers presents or theatrical presents, and then inside it was like with presentations from Shazam and Black Adam, whatever. But that was in the description. The name of the panel should have been Black Adam and Shazam. That's it. Because then it's like
expectations.
That's it. You're going to still expect maybe Henry Cavill showing up too, but that's on you. If Deadline's reporting them, that's on you.
Especially since they're in a family, Shazam and Black Adam correlate. It would have worked narratively, and that should have been a conversation.
Should have been it.
I do have a question because I know we're getting out of here though. You know, they announced that the Flash show is ending after season 9, only 13 episodes on the CW. Because of the Flash stuff that's going on, Coy or Kristian, do you think that there's any sort of there's like a rumor that they're doing this so Grant will take over for Ezra?
I'll let Coy answer that one. I'm not sure. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I don't know.
I know that my first instinct was, they don't want Ben Affleck's last movie to be in Flash. Like that was my first instinct. Was when they my first thought when I saw Jason Momoa announce Ben Affleck, I'm like, Damage Control is him not being his last appearance because you wouldn't want Ben Affleck's because Ben Affleck's an incredible Batman.
Hold on. Isn't it still because Flash is next year and Aquaman's at the end of this year?
No.
Aquaman's next year.
Yeah.
Oh, it got pushed. That's right. It got pushed.
So Ben Affleck's last appearance as of now is now not Flash. So my thought is Flash is going to be retooled somewhat. And I'm not saying Ben Affleck's not in it. I'm saying like it would be very, very clean. And I'd be very happy for Grant if he wants to make a lot of money keeping playing Flash.
Michael Keaton, how do you feel about Grant now being the Flash and Ezra? Oh, I mean, that's the guy with the who? He doesn't
nuts.
He doesn't even know anymore.
He's never finished a Marvel or DC movie. DC. He said, "I love that."
Wow.
Yeah, he said
not even his own.
No,
not even his own.
He said he goes, I got other things to do. He has other things to do.
He's just living his life, man. Just living his life.
All right, we're
dangerously.
Everybody, so listen. This was again first unofficial episode of Capes and Cowls. We're going to be doing in studio once we're able to. Next week we should be in studio for sure, hopefully. And then we're going to be full on running, and we're going to start taking questions for you guys. I have more announcements eventually about what we're going to be able to do. We're very excited about this show. So for Coy and Winston and myself, we'll see you guys. Leave your comments about what you guys want us to, what you'd like to see in this show, and let's keep talking. It's Capes and Cowls, Winston, Coy, and me. Peace.